Good afternoon and welcome. I call to order the Tuesday, May 9th, Kansas Corporation Commission business meeting. My name is Susan Duffy. I'm serving as chair of the commission, and I'm joined today by Commissioner Keene and Commissioner French. Today we have 30 consent items and 3 noticed items. Commissioners, you've had the opportunity to review and study the 30 consent agenda items. Are there any questions or comments? And I will start with Commissioner Keene.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner French.
No questions. I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye, the motion passes. Thank you. We will move to our first noticed item. It is in the docket matter of the application of Kansas Gas Service, a division of One Gas Inc. That's docket number 23 KGSG 282 TAR. And this is for approval by the commission to revise section 7 of Kansas Gas Services General Terms and Conditions. This is an order on KGS's application to revise its tariff. Our presenter today is our General Counsel, Brian Fedotin. Good afternoon, Mr. Fedotin.
Good afternoon. I'm glad you said that. I was just about to say good morning because I'm accustomed to this to being at 10. Anyway, KGS seeks to revise two portions of its tariff. First, Section 7009, which outlines when customers reimburse it for changes to its facilities, to use an average embedded cost to calculate service line reconnections, relocations, abandonments, and meter relocations. It also wants to revise 709 to clarify that it applies to equipment upgrades, mains, and service lines. KGS also wants to revise Section 7.04.03 subpart 2 of the tariff, which establishes customer allowances for service line installations or replacement to use its average embedded costs when calculating this allowance. On April 5th, commission staff filed its report and recommendation recommending approval of KGS's request to revise those sections of its tariff. But on April 13th, CURB filed a response opposing charging the average embedded cost for projects of pipe diameters 1 1/4 inch or less for customers requesting customer requested relocation, reconnection, or upgrades of company equipment, and charging 1/3 of the average embedded cost for service line abandonment. CURB expresses concerns that there will be a rise in the number of high-cost projects and that low-cost projects may be drastically overcharged. Thus, CURB asked the commission to continue requiring KGS to address customer-requested projects and service line abandonments on an individual basis. KGS replied to CURB noting using average embedded costs is a regulatory endorsed practice which could reduce administrative burdens. CURB responded again as did KGS, but I'll skip that in this presentation. This order grants KGS's proposed revisions to Section 709 of its tariff to clarify that the provision includes equipment upgrades, mains, and service lines. However, the commission finds CURB raises legitimate and important concerns about whether the charges will result in just and reasonable rates by eroding cost containment signals in the current approach. Thus, the commission denies KGS's request to charge the average embedded cost for customer requested relocations, reconnections, or upgrades of company equipment for projects of pipe diameter 1 1/4 inch or less, or 1/3 of the average embedded cost for service line abandonment. If CURB still wishes to if KGS still wishes to withdraw its application without prejudice, leave will be freely given. With that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Fedotin. I will turn to Commissioner French for any questions or comments,
No questions.
and to Commissioner Keen, questions or comments.
No, thank you, Chair. Yes, a comment from me, if I may. I will be dissenting in this order. I support adopting the commission staff's report and recommendation to approve the KGS application to use the average embedded cost methodology for customer-related relocation, reconnection, and upgrades of its equipment, and 1/3 of the average embedded cost for service line abandonment. I do that since this will result in customers being charged the most updated amount and being certain of the cost of any project. And because this suggestion by the staff and by KGS would reduce its administrative costs incurred in quantifying the cost for each requested job. To the contrary, CURB's position and the position adopted by the majority is speculative and conjectural and conditioned upon such contingencies as whether and if, and this is set out in more detail within my dissenting opinion. The anecdotal, speculative, and conjectural nature of CURB's concerns are such that they lack factual support and are not sufficient to reject the KGS application. Therefore, I dissent and will be voting no in this order. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Keen. With that, I look for a motion to approve. Commissioner French.
I move to approve the order as described by Mr. Fedotin.
I second the motion. All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the order is approved, and we do note Commissioner Keen's dissent. Thank you. All right, moving on to our second item in this afternoon's noticed agenda. It's docket number 23 ATMG 359 RTS. This is in the matter of the application of Atmos Energy Corporation for adjustment of its natural gas rates in the state of Kansas. This is an order on unanimous settlement agreement, and our presenter today is Mr. Cohen. Please.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good afternoon. On September 9th, 2022, Atmos Energy Corporation filed an application requesting an overall rate increase of $8.3 million and a rebasing of the current $3.5 million of the Gas System Reliability Surcharge, or GSRS, into base rates and setting the GSRS back to zero. Atmos also sought a 5-year extension of its System Integrity Program, or SIP, and an increase in its budget for the SIP from 35 to 50 million. Atmos sought to incorporate various charges into its rate base, such as credit card and meter reading fees, because it was easier to collect, and at least on the credit card fees, they haven't been charging them for the last few years. Atmos sought to implement its voluntary Smart Choice carbon offset tariff, which allows customers to pay a surcharge to offset their carbon usage. And Atmos also sought to revise its transportation tariffs to require most transportation customers to install an electronic flow meter, or EFM. Additionally, new transportation customers would have to meet a minimum usage threshold, whereas current customers would be grandfathered in. On February 21st, 2023, parties filed a unanimous settlement agreement, which reduced the net increase to $2.2 million, rolled the GSRS into base rates, and again reset the GSRS to zero. It withdrew the request to extend the SIP and made changes to how the SIP prioritizes what pipes get rebuilt. Schools were exempted from the transportation tariffs or from the EFM requirement if they use less than 3,000 DTH per year. It approved the voluntary smart choice smart offset tariff, and instead of waiving all of the miscellaneous fees, it just reduced it to waiving the credit card fees. On March 7th, the commission held a hearing and heard testimony in support of the unanimous settlement agreement. There was an amicus brief filed in opposition to the settlement, which suggested the commission open a general investigation in lieu of its decision in this case. But as amici were not parties to the docket, the agreement is still considered unanimous and is therefore subject to the commission's three-part test, which determines if the agreement is 1, supported by substantial competent evidence, 2, will result in just and reasonable rates, and 3, is in the public interest. Based on the written and oral testimony received in support of the agreement, this order finds that those tests are met and approves the settlement agreement, which is attached. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. I appreciate the presentation, Mr. Cohen. And I'll turn to Commissioner French for comments or questions.
My only comment would be, I will be supporting the order. I do want to point out that while it's not addressed at length in the order, we did have an amicus brief, and I just want to commend that party for filing that brief and raising all of those questions. I can say on my part, it did not necessarily change the outcome here, but it caused me to ask a lot of very serious and I think important questions of our staff to make sure I was comfortable with the outcome that we were reaching in this case. So I want to make sure that it's addressed that that there were important questions raised there, and I did need a lot of information to make sure that I was comfortable with the outcome and that we had addressed those issues. So that would be my only comment. But again, I do support the order.
Thank you. And Commissioner Keen, comments from you, please.
Yes, if I may, thank you. I support the commission findings with one exception that's very important to me. It's set out more fully within my dissenting opinion. I would deny Atmos's request to waive the requirement to charge a fee for credit card usage. By waiving the fee for customers paying their gas bill by credit card, those fees are being passed on to all Atmos residential customers, even if those customers choose not to pay by credit card. Rather than force customers who elect to pay by other means to subsidize customers that choose to pay by credit card, I believe those customers who pay by credit card should bear all costs and fees that are associated therewith. Furthermore, I believe that the policy of prohibiting the socialization of these costs should have been adopted by the commission and designated as precedential and therefore applicable with like effect to all of the commission's regulated utilities in due course. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Keen. My comments would go to the replacement, the greater weight that was instigated by the settlement agreement and placing greater weight on the replacement of bare steel service lines and the discussion that must have ensued by all parties as it was spoken to. I do believe that continued replacement of the bare steel is extremely important to ensure the safety of the residents in the state of Kansas in Atmos's territory. And I appreciate the parties for having that discussion. Further, I do believe that there are elements in this settlement agreement that deal with the continued effects of Storm Uri and how we can better approve the accountability of all folks involved in the transportation of gas and the recipients of this gas during an extreme and volatile situation, and that we have the requisite accountability standards in place and that everybody understands them. Storm Uri, though, that's what, 100-year, 500-year occurrence. We realized then Storm Elliott came that this is changing. Our weather conditions are now more extreme. And I do believe that as we contemplate Atmos and other utilities and their requests, that we be mindful of our experience with Storm Uri and look for solutions to mitigate the negative effects after the storm. So that is my comment. And I would look for a motion to approve this order.
I move we approve the order as described.
And I said, go ahead, Commissioner Keen.
Second. I
And-
second.
Thank you. Commissioner Keen seconds the motion. All those in favor, vote aye.
I vote aye, with the exception of the, my concerns noted in my dissenting opinion.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is approved, noting Commissioner Keen's dissension on a specific element of the order. Thank you. We'll turn to our final noticed item. It is docket number 23CONS 3312 CPEN. This is in the matter of the failure of American Star Energy Services LLC to comply with a commission order and KAR 82-3-120 while its license is suspended. This is a shut-in order for American Star Energy. And our presenter today is Mr. Kelsey Marsh. Good afternoon, Mr. Marsh.
Good afternoon, Chair Duffy, and thank you, Commissioners. Before you is a shut-in order for American Star Energy Services. The order assesses a $10,000 penalty and directs staff to shut in American Star's wells until American Star is in compliance with its compliance agreement in docket 22-CONS-3478-CMSC, has implemented surface control at all of its wells, and its operator license is reinstated. With that, I would recommend approval of the order, and I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Marsh. I'll turn first to Commissioner Keen. Do you have questions?
No questions. Thank you.
And Commissioner French.
No questions. I move to approve the order as described by Mr. Marsh.
Second.
There is a motion and a second to approve the order. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye, the motion passes. Commissioners, that concludes our agenda today. Do either of you have any other items to take up? I'll start with Commissioner Keen
None for me. Thank you. I would move to adjourn.
and Commissioner French. Do we
I
have?
have no, yeah, I have no items and I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye, the motion passes. We are adjourned. Be weather aware, everybody, and stay safe. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.